Hello. So, I've been working at the University of Leeds since 2009 as an application developer. This talks about the impracticality of diversification in choosing a content management platform. So, the first thing I did was I came up with the title, and I thought, where does that come from? So, it actually comes from Don Quixote. But then if you look online at translations of Don Quixote, you won't find this quotation in there at all. Because it was done by this guy, I don't know how to say his name, in 1706 apparently, and it's a Franco-Cockney translation, which was described by another translator as worse than worthless. So its only claim to fame is that it's actually used as a phrase. It doesn't appear in Don Quixote anymore. So the content management landscape when I arrived at Leeds looked a bit like this, with lots of other bits added to it. So there were lots of different systems. The university operated a Unix hosting platform and a Windows hosting platform, and you paid them £250 and you could get some space on that platform to do with whatever you wanted. So people installed all these systems and made websites with them. And then in 2016, the two Solaris servers, which these were hosted on, which were ancient, were both hacked. All of the websites were compromised on there. All of the writable directories, all the directories and files which were writable by the web server were changed. And malicious JavaScript and PHP code was put in all of them. No. So when we looked at the sites to determine what the cause was, we found out that it was impossible to determine what the cause was because there were so many points of ingress in all of the 200-odd sites on that server that we couldn't figure out which one was the first one to have been hacked. And I don't think anyone maintained the logs on them. I think they've forgotten, they'd run out of space for the logs. So no one looked at them. So when I started there at Leeds, I started a WordPress service in the faculty that I was working in. That was basically to create small websites for research projects and conferences, and the main motivation for that was that people were going outside the university to create these sites on things like Wix and WordPress.com, and we wanted to bring them in-house so that we could own them. And they were using leeds.ac.uk, and they weren't applying university branding, so that was another reason that we wanted them in this service. In 2016, just before the server got hacked, it was set up as a 6-month pilot across the whole university. So then the two faculties that I was working in weren't the only beneficiaries of this service. It was rolled out to all the other ones. In December 2016, when the server was hacked, 90 WordPress sites which were on that server were moved into the service, and it immediately was full. So the way we migrated sites to WordPress, we migrated sites which were in things like Expression Engine, Drupal, plain HTML sites, sites that have been written in PHP by academic developers. All of when we moved them in there, there was various different strategies we employed. WordPress has a XML import format which you can use, and if you can get the system that you're getting the data from into that format, then that's probably the easiest way of doing it. All the WordPress sites that were on the server were migrated using an automated migration tool provided by our hosts, which were WP Engine. There were other things that we used to migrate sites. Copy and paste was quite popular. So what we're doing now is we're using WordPress at scale. We've got something like 10 installations of WordPress multi-site, which we can use to create sites from a template. It takes about 5 minutes. And then all of those sites within a single installation, they all share the same database, the same code base. The main advantage in this is that we have central control over the themes that people can use. In other words, we have control over how the website looks, and we have control over how the website operates by saying which plugins people can use in them. So we'll have a WordPress site which only does one type of website, and it'll have 60 to 100 websites on it, which all look the same and all operate in the same way. It's got a very low administrative overhead because you've only got one code base to maintain. Domain mapping is something that's been in WordPress since 2016. You could do it with plugins before that, but now it's in the core system. What this does is, whenever we create a site, we assign a domain to it, and then it looks like a website which is completely independent from any other website. Actually, it's in a bunch of websites with 60 or 70 others, and we have control over the way it looks and the way it operates. But it empowers users in giving them the illusion that they have full control over them. WordPress isn't very good in terms of its performance. So one of the things you do need to do is you need to cache all the output from WordPress, and you can do this through plugins and through changing your server configuration so that when people visit a website, WordPress doesn't chug up and create a page. It's already created a page somewhere, and your server just goes and gets the pre-made page for you. And also, WP Engine, our hosting provider, also provide a level of caching on top of that, which means that all of the sites in the system are pretty fast. So, the disadvantages in using it are kind of lead to the advantages, which is the next slide. So one of the main disadvantages is the proliferation of independent websites. We've got 600 of these now, and 50 plus are added per year. I suppose, what that's led to is a more of a concentration on governance in who can have these websites, who's allowed to have these websites, and who needs to be referred back to the marketing team so that they can have a web page with them instead of their own website. Another disadvantage is that sites are viewed by people as being boring and uniform, and they're the same as everyone else's website. But then that also means that we can have a conversation with them about the content and about how their content should make it different from other websites, and they shouldn't worry so much about the way it looks and what color it is, because at least all of these sites work on mobile phones, and their old website never worked on a mobile phone, and it never would work on a mobile phone. And also, like I said, having a system where you can create websites easily means that you have to step up the governance, and it's something that we haven't done very well at Leeds. We're only just coming around to doing it now, which is why we've got this huge backlog of 600 sites. But we are going to be getting rid of a lot of them. The advantages are that you can create sites very quickly. Our application support team are now creating websites rather than the development team. Sites share the common design, so we can roll out the branding of the organisation across all the sites which use leeds.ac.uk domains. And when we start working on the accessibility features for the legislation that came in last September, we can roll all of those changes out to all the sites simultaneously. and also the ability to implement governance, monitoring and archiving strategies. So now we've got all of our websites in WordPress in one system. We've got access to a lot of data from that system, so we can see which websites aren't performing, like which haven't had any visitors in the last 12 months. And then we can suggest to people that maybe their website shouldn't be there anymore, or maybe they should start thinking about putting their content somewhere else. And that's me.
Cool, we'll just squeeze one question in while we sort Marianne's slides out. So Marianne, do you want to come down? Anyone got a question for Peter? Oh. Where are we going? I can't see. Oh, is there one on Slido yet? We'll do Gemma. Go on.
So who owns the decision about whether one of these WordPress sites should exist at all in the Leeds digital landscape?
We've got a group which is made up from marketing, application development and application support and comms. So they meet on a regular basis, on a weekly basis. I provide some kind of advice in terms of if someone's asking for a site which needs a particular bit of functionality, then I might be able to suggest ways that they can achieve that. They don't always go into WordPress. Some of them get referred back to people to be developed in a different way. Some of them are quite ambitious, and so we point them at the program office, which then gives them an estimated cost of £50,000 to £100,000 for it, which soon shuts them up. But a lot of them now get referred back to the marketing teams in each of the faculties, and the academics put in touch with them to incorporate their content on the main website. But we haven't been in that position for very long because the faculty websites haven't really been in a unified content management platform until July the 3rd. So July the 3rd, everyone will be in a unified platform. That's a different one. That's another basket.
Which probably brings us nicely on to, but first, can we show our appreciation to Peter?